MiG-29 jet helps Ukraine fight Russian fighter jet. The Mikoyan MiG-29 is a super-maneuverable fighter aircraft designed in the Soviet Union. It was developed by the Mikoyan Design Bureau to counter new U.S. fighters such as the McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle and the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon. In this video, we'll discuss the general capabilities of the MiG-29 fighter jet. It entered service with the Soviet Air Forces in 1982. Initially, it was oriented toward combat against any enemy aircraft, but it was later upgraded as multi-role fighters capable of performing several different operations. Stay till the end because we're telling you why Russia didn't use MiG-29 against Ukraine. In the mid-1960s, the United States Air Force had problems over the skies of Vietnam, and its supersonic fighter bombers like the F-105 Thunder Chief that had been optimized for low-altitude bombing could not compete with older MiG-17s and more advanced MiGs, which were much more maneuverable. The United States wanted to regain the limited air superiority enjoyed over Korea, and for that, they refocused on air combat using the F-4 Phantom multi-role fighter, while the Soviet Union deployed the MiG-23 in response. At the end of the 1960s, the USAF started working on the FX program to produce a fighter dedicated to air superiority, and in late 1969, McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle was ordered for production. When the Cold War was at its peak, a Soviet response was necessary to avoid the technological advance of the new American fighter over existing Soviet fighters. Thus, the development of a new air superiority fighter became a priority. In 1969, the Soviet General Staff issued a requirement for a Perspektivny Frontovoy Istrebitel, or PFI, roughly Advanced Frontline Fighter. They wanted to develop a fighter with exceptional specifications, such as long-range excellent agility, Mach 2+ speed, and heavy armament. The Russian Aerodynamics Institute, TSAGI, collaborated with the Sukhoi Design Bureau on the aircraft's aerodynamics. By 1971, Soviet studies determined the need for different types of fighters. Perspektivny Lyotsky Frontovoy Istrebitel, LPFI, or Advanced Lightweight Tactical Fighter program, was supplemented with the PFI program, and the Soviet fighter force was planned to be approximately 33% PFI and 67% LPFI. Do you know how the United States Air Force countered the PFI and LPFI programs? The USAF established the Lightweight Fighter Program and the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon and Northrop YF-17. The PFI fighter was assigned to Sukhoi, resulting in the Sukhoi Su-27, while the lightweight fighter went to Mikoyan. The detailed design work on the Mikoyan Product 9, designated MiG-29A, began in 1974. The fighter took its first flight on October 6, 1977. The workload split between TPFI and LPFI was successful as the MiG-29 filtered into frontline service with the Soviet Air Forces in the mid-1980s. On the contrary, the long-range Su-27 was tasked with the more exotic and dangerous role of deep air-to-air sweeps of NATO high-value assets. Moreover, the smaller MiG-29 directly replaced the MiG-23 in the frontal aviation role. The MiG-29 has a mid-mounted swept wing with blended leading-edge root extensions, or LERXs, swept at around 40 degrees. It has two vertical fins mounted on booms outboard of the engines. The leading edges of the wings are mounted with automatic slats. Maneuvering flaps and wingtip ailerons are on the trailing edge. The fighter aircraft has hydraulic controls and an SAU-451 3-axis autopilot, but unlike the Su-27, has no fly-by-wire control system. The airframe is mostly made up of aluminum with some composite materials and is stressed for up to 9G, or 88 meters per second squared, maneuvers. The MiG-29 has two widely spaced Klimov RD-33 turbofan engines, each rated at 50.0 kN dry and 81.3 kN in afterburner. Have you ever wondered why there is a wide space between the engines of the MiG-29? The wide space between the engines generates lift and reduces the effective wing loading, enhancing maneuverability. The engines are fed through intake ramps fitted under the leading edge extensions, which have variable ramps to allow high Mach speeds. MiG-29's engines produce noticeably heavier smoke than other fighters due to their relatively short combustor. It has a ferry range of 1,500 kilometers or 930 miles without external fuel tanks, and with the addition of the external tanks, the range increases to 2,100 kilometers or 1,300 miles. The internal fuel capacity of the original MiG-29B is 4,365 liters, distributed between 6 internal fuel tanks, 4 in the fuselage and 1 in each wing. The fuel capacity can be increased for longer flights, with the addition of 1,500-liter centerline drop tank and on later production batches, 2 1,150-liter underwing drop tanks. Similarly, newer models have been fitted with port-side in-flight refueling probes that permit longer flight times by using probe and drogue systems. The armament of the MiG-29 includes a single GSH 30-1 30mm cannon in the port wing root. Initially, it had a 150-round magazine, which was reduced to 100 rounds in later variants. The MiG-29B aircraft cannot fire the cannon when carrying a centerline fuel tank, as it blocks the shell ejection port, but this problem was resolved in the MiG-29S and later versions. 3 or 4 pylons are provided under each wing, for a total of 6 or 8. The inboard pylons can carry an 1,150-liter fuel tank, 1 Vimpel R-27 or AA-10 Alamo medium-range air-to-air missile, or unguided bombs or rockets. Other Soviet aircraft can also carry a single nuclear bomb on the port inboard station. The outer pylons of MiG-29 usually carry R-37 or AA-11 Archer dogfight air-to-air missiles. However, some users still retain the older R-60 or AA-8A aphid. A single 1,500-liter tank can be fitted to the centerline between the engines. If you have reached this far in the video, we would like to thank you. Be sure to subscribe to enjoy more content like this. Ukraine was invaded by Russia on February 24th, and they used Su-24, Su-25, Su-30SM, Su-34, and Su-35 in Ukrainian airspace. At the beginning of the Russian invasion, Ukraine's Air Force had about 56 operational MiG-29 fighter aircraft. Launching MiG-29 against Ukrainian MiG-29 would not make any sense for Russia, as both sides have identical fighter jets and lack beyond visual range combat capability and targeting pod. Instead of MiG-29, Russia decided to use Su-30SM, the latest in Russian inventory, and have some BVR capability with its NIIP bars radar. Russia also used Su-24, which is a targeting pod to drop bombs on a ground attack roll. MiG-29 was not considered by the Russians as they're relying on a more upgradable fighter including various Su-27 variants, and can't afford to keep upgrading the MiG as Russia knows the limitation of MiG-29 in actual combat. MiG-29 is outdated, and that is why Russia didn't use it during the invasion. Modern air combat is more about electronics than speed and maneuverability, which justifies why Ukraine has been so successful with its technically advanced Turkish Bayraktar TB2 drones, despite their clunky handling and slow speed. The MiG-29 fighter will help Ukraine against the Russian invasion. What do you guys suggest? Do watch our other video on a similar topic, U.S. attack helicopters deployed to Poland as a response to war in Ukraine 2022.